Welcome back, everybody. I am so excited to have Allen Levy back with us again from the great state of Alaska, where, I don't know, this guy gets up really early in the morning because it's early for me, but, apparently he gets up really, really early, even when the sun is not high in the sky. In Alaska, you're getting toward, I guess we're just at spring solstice, right?
Yeah.
So welcome back. I'm really glad to have you.
Well, it's good to be back. I appreciate the invitation for a return visit. Um, and we're in definitely in transition. That we're in a period where the uh, the amount of daylight expands at a rapid pace during March and April. So, like last night, I went to bed fairly late, around 10, and the sun was still up. But it is, what is it? It's 7:10 right now, uh, in the morning, and it's kind of a twilight. It's not full dark. The sun is behind the mountains and just trying to lighten things up a bit. But within a few more weeks at this time, it'll be full daylight already. And when we get to June, it'll be practically 24 hours of light. The sun will go down in Anchorage, but it won't get dark. One of the common elements in best interest standards in most jurisdictions, it could be called the friendly parent provision.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I just mentioned in ours is this big mouthful of the ability to affirm the love and love and
And
affection, et cetera, right?
yeah, in Alaska, it's facilitate a close and continuing relationship between the child and the other parent.
Right.
That's pretty easy to observe.
Mhm.
That's pretty easy to see if if a parent is doing that or not. Now in Alaska, there is an exception if a parent can prove that the other parent has a history of domestic violence or in some way is unsafe, then they're relieved of that duty.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, that does not give them license to say bad things about the other parent. So you
Mhm.
can still be looking at them,
So it's still the friendly parent.
yeah,
You
you
still got to be
still
a
have
friendly
to,
parent, friendly-ish at least, right? Yeah.
so you still have to support and encourage that relationship, that the children have to be able to have their own independent feelings.
Mhm.
Most children, most of the time, love both parents. And the divorce is hard, but the really hard part is when two people that the child loves the most hate each other, because
Yeah.
children look to the parents for, to tell them what's right, what's wrong. And to oversimplify, for the sake of making the point, children look at their parents, especially in the younger ages, pre-adolescence. Mom and dad know everything. I don't know anything. I love mom. I love dad. Mom and dad hate each other. There must be something wrong with me. They
That's
can't
right.
resolve that conflict, and they have not reached a cognitive developmental level where they can distance themselves and say, well, that's mom and dad. I don't have a dog in that fight. They can fight
Right.
it. I'll
Right.
take a side. Even teenagers have a real hard time speaking up for themselves and 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 not feeling some amount of tension or even guilt if they express a preference. um, then they know that, if I choose this, I'm going to disappoint parent A, or if I choose the
Right.
other, I'm going to disappoint parent B, and it feels like a no-win situation. So you can observe how well the parents are basically saying this message, that you need to be a good son or daughter to your other parent, no matter how difficult they're making it, no matter how annoying they might be, you still need to um, follow their rules and show some respect and consideration for them, no matter what. Um, and it's easy to observe if that's being done or not. And that kind of simplifies, for example, the parental alienation dilemma. Is one parent alienating the children, or is the
Mhm.
other parent estranging them? It's like it doesn't is under this model, it doesn't matter that you don't have to get into the five-factor model of alienation. You can just observe, is this parent communicating, cooperating, um, able to engage in joint decision making to facilitate this relationship?
Mhm.
Another common element is the children's needs. The children, their emotional, physical, spiritual needs. And among the needs that all children have is for safety, physical safety, and more importantly, emotional safety. And if the parents are fighting with each other and actively practicing hostility towards each other, they are not meeting the child's need for emotional safety. And that can be observed as well in the way they communicate, either through text messages or emails or face to face over the phone. Um, the the standard, the criteria that I use in my curriculum is that you have to communicate as a professional. You leave your feelings out of it.
So, all right, so tell me about affirmative art that you were
So
doing.
the affirmative arts represents a kind of practical philosophy because I practice practical philosophy, not idealistic. So the human brain operates on affirmative principles that what we can visualize, we can operationalize. And too often people frame their 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 words, they're saying whatever they're speaking, they frame it in terms of can't, not, don't, and won't. And that doesn't work very well. It's real easy to say, don't do this, don't do that, I can't do this, I won't do that. But it doesn't leave room for what you will do. Um, and so I actually came up with this term affirmative arts for a client that I was working with who was in the beginning, one of the most difficult and challenging clients I ever had. Very closed down, very transactional, um, a product of 3 generations of intergenerational trauma going back to the Holocaust. Very unemotional, and over the course of our work, um, we had a number of breakthroughs, and one of those moments was telling him, about this idea. This is how the brain works, and I will teach you the affirmative arts, how to get what you want by affirming what you want rather than framing it all as can't, not, don't, and won't. Um, and he's possibly one of the most transformed clients I've ever had the privilege to work with. If I can't do this, but I wish I could show you a picture of him on day one and where he is today, um, they're almost unrecognizable in terms of both the physical and the metaphysical transformation this
Mm.
particular person really applied himself to using these affirmative principles. Um, so you can um, well, actually, let me roll that back. Often I'll ask a person, what do you want? And they will answer in terms of what they don't want or what they should do. And those are two things you can't do. You can't operationalize a don't want. Years ago, I worked in juvenile corrections. And as we're preparing kids to return to the community, we'd be doing planning. What are you going to do? What are your plans? What are your goals? And
Right.
so this one young man said, well, I'm not going to steal cars anymore. I said, okay, show me not stealing cars. What does that look like? And he's like, I don't know. You can't show that.
Mhm.
So then we direct his thinking to, if you're not going to be stealing cars, what are you going to be doing? What will you be doing? Um, and so I've created what I call the Affirmative Arts Challenge, which is a 2-part challenge, which I like a lot better than the Tide Pod Challenge or the Ice Bucket Challenge, because again, it's more practical and it's healthy.
Right.
But the first part of the Affirmative Arts Challenge is for the person to do a self check. Pay attention over the course of a day how much of what you say comes out in the form of can't, not, don't, and won't. Just pay attention to that. Notice how much of what you say is negating language rather than affirmative language.
Mhm.
So that's part one. And most people are like, I didn't realize I was such a negative person. And I say, okay, now the second part of the challenge is how long can you go stating things only in the affirmative? Stating things in terms of what you want, what you will do, what is going to happen. And in the beginning, most people can't go more than about 5 minutes.